I told you. You die for that. You should have gone for the head.
Anime, wrestling, comic books and weed. This is the A.W.C.W podcast with your host, the Twisted King Savage.
Hello everyone, you're listening to episode 2 of A.W.C.W podcast. I am your host, the Twisted King Savage. Today's episode we will be covering my review of Avengers Endgame. First, let's start with a little history, my history to be precise. I started reading comic books in the 3rd grade. I knew about characters like Superman, Batman, all that way before then. As a kid, you couldn't help but know about those characters, but it wasn't until the X-Men, the animated series, it was X-Men, the animated series, Batman, Spider-Man. There was a time where Fox was killing it when it came to the superhero TV shows, like Spider-Man the animated series, X-Men the animated series, and Batman the animated series are still today some of my favorite shows of all time. The art was amazing in all of them, except for I think it was like the last season of X-Men. It kind of got crappy, but the stories were good. They were engaging. They really took a kid like me and made me want to learn more. So in the 3rd grade, a friend of my mom's, her husband was a big comic book fan. So he found out I was interested in comic books and was like, well, young Padawan learner, please. He became my Obi-Wan to the comic book realm. The first thing he started me out was of Thanos' quest. He was like, this is where you're going to start. Now, I was a big fan of X-Men, but he was like, trust me, this is where you want to start. So I read Thanos' quest, loved it. Like, Thanos was the most badass villain that I've ever seen. Like, I liked the way he operated. He used power when he needed to. He tricked opponents where he needed to. Thanos was that villain that seemed to always have all of his bases covered. Now I went from that to the Infinity War. Fast forward now to when the MCU started, and they started creating the world around the Infinity Gems and Thanos. I was juiced. I was pumped. That's where I got my start. I loved the story, and at the time I didn't even know much. It wasn't until much later when I did even more research about who Thanos was and that I even learned more. But after going through Thanos' quest, Infinity War, and the aftermath, we got Adam Warlock and the Infinity Watch, and I really liked Adam Warlock's character as much as I liked Thanos. The two always had an interesting dynamic with each other. It was almost kind of like eerily reminiscent of Batman and Joker. There were two sides. They were the two opposing forces. Like, even when people thought Thanos was killed or dead, Adam Warlock always knew. He was like, nah, he's not dead. And always seemed to know exactly where the fuck to find Thanos after all the shit had hit the fan. When we get to the MCU, they teased Adam Warlock, I believe, in the first Guardians of the Galaxy, is like the pod that he was in the collector's room. So I was like, oh shit, maybe after the collectors, well, spoiler alert if you haven't watched the first Guardians of the Galaxy, but when the collectors little museum, whatever you call it, exploded, I was thinking, oh shit, that's gonna be the precursor to Adam Warlock coming in. Like, I really thought the Howard the Duck scene that they did in the end was actually going to be Adam Warlock emerging from the pod. That never happened. So we got Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I have my opinions about the movie. I think it's a great movie. It's awesome. Kind of thought they could have been doing something better to gear towards the Infinity story rather than chasing Peter Quill's lineage with Ego. You know, I really felt like it was a wasted movie. And then at the end, we got the golden chick all pissed off after what the Guardians did, creating who she called Adam. Fast forward, we get Captain Marvel. Now, anybody who knows me recently I've talked to, they know the problems I have with Captain Marvel. It's not because it's a female character. It's just simply how Marvel shoehorned this character into the MCU. Yes, Captain Marvel does have a significant role with Thanos, but it's not Carol Danvers' Captain Marvel. It was the original Marvel who Thanos was beefing with, going back and forth with until, for those who don't know, Marvel is, I believe in comic book history, he's the first character to actually die of cancer. So, you know, so it's kind of a big deal, especially back then with something like that. So Marvel dies. Adam Warlock takes over as Thanos' primary good guy, or whatever you want to call it. So we get this Captain Marvel, which, you know, I seen the movie. It was alright, but like, my issue was that they just trounced over such a monumental character for Marvel Comics first, and not even keeping Marvel a man. And you know, you can say, you know, it doesn't matter, man, but it does, because Marvel was his great hero, and they literally turned him into a scientist chick. Like, I really feel Marvel dropped the ball on that one. They could have gave us a much better story. They could have shown a little bit more respect to the character. I feel that even like they done in what was it, in Ant-Man, how even though Hank Pym is an Ant-Man, Hank Pym passed the Ant-Man torch over to Scott Lang. That was a cool way to do it. You know, we get to see glimpses of Hank Pym of being Ant-Man in the past, but still Scott Lang is the character. That's why he was accepted so easily, because he's immediately tied to the original character. What Marvel did was simply say, you know what, girl power, let's just change everything and just put it on this one person. I'm not a big fan of that. Anyway, so we get this Captain Marvel. I really don't believe Captain Marvel at any point earned her powers. It was just kind of like inherited. You know, it's the same cliche writing. It's always an accident. It's always some foul or whatever, and that gives them powers. I was like, it didn't make sense to me. It still doesn't. Like, if anybody knows who Carol Danvers is, up until a few years ago, Carol Danvers' greatest asset to the Marvel universe was the fact that she was the chick Rogue stole her powers from, and that was pretty much it. Like, she was a hero. Rogue during her evil days stole her powers of flight and vulnerability and strength from her. She was in a coma for a long time, and that was it. Like, we seen Carol Danvers in like side stories and other things. Like was it? She is also known as Binary, Miss Marvel. You know, she had different runs over the years, and then finally Marvel decided to name her Captain Marvel To be honest with you, in my opinion, I believe Captain Marvel was just basically the MCU's knee-jerk reaction to DC producing Wonder Woman and showing a strong female character. And Marvel was like, holy shit, in this new age of women empowerment, we realize we don't have a strong female character to cash in on to make that sweet female demographic money. You know what? We'll bring in Captain Marvel. No real context on this character or why this person is around. Like, they couldn't even give you a decent explanation how they set this movie in the 1980s, predating most of everything else in the MCU outside of, I think, Captain America's origin. You basically have her come in, whoop everybody's ass, save the Skrulls, and then, spoiler alert if you haven't seen that movie, at the end she goes off into space with the Skrulls, leaving Fury this pager, and she does not come back to Earth for over 20 years. Now explain this to me. If you've been gone off planet for, I don't know, what was it, how many years before she came back to Earth? How, and you have a so-called family like, what was it, Monica Rambeau and her mom? I can't remember the mother's name. I don't know, it's escaping me. But, you know, you have this so-called family that you've been away from. You as soon as you find them again, you leave off planet to go help the Skrulls. Good for you. You're a nice person for that. But why did you never return to Earth for 20 years? Your niece is a grown-ass woman by this time. Hell, her mother might have passed away by this time. What kind of friend are you that you don't come back to Earth, at least to pop by to pick up some McDonald's or some Popeyes or something? Like, that to me, that is just lazy storytelling on the MCU part. Because what are they going to do? They're probably going to try to jam another movie in between that time to try to explain to us what she's been doing this whole entire time, which at this point, I don't care. So, we get to Avengers Endgame. They hit the pager, she shows up, woo, she's here to save the day. So, for spoiler alerts for anybody who has not seen Endgame yet, that's why I'm recording this now, so I can get all my feelings out. But I probably won't be releasing it, like, for another week or two, just in case, but I might put ample spoiler warnings before anybody listens to this. So, anyway, she comes in, Thor's all emo, everybody else is trying to figure out what the fuck's going on. So, yeah, if you haven't gone, there was a scene that circulated just before the movie came out, kind of asking her where she is, you know, where she's been, and she's like, well, there's other planets that didn't have the Avengers. I don't give a fuck. Excuse my language. I don't care if there's other planets that didn't have Avengers. Your planet is Earth. You ain't come back in to stop by to check on it. Y'all, and the thing about it, the Avengers didn't even exist before you left, so you just left Earth defenseless. And then had the nerve when you finally came back after the shit then hit the fan, gonna give a BS remark like, well, other planets didn't have Avengers. Well, we didn't have you either, did you? And you see what happened? Maybe you was here when Thanos showed up. Things would have went on different. But no, you are on the planets helping people out. See how it is. Okay. You get all past that. They somehow detect the glove that gets used again. They go find the garden that Thanos went to. The garden is a very how you say monumental or important location, because in the original Infinity War story, that is where, after everybody thought Thanos was killed, that's where Thanos went to basically, chill out, do whatever. He literally became a farmer. I mean, there's a really, I really wish I could. I really wish I still had that comic book. But I remember reading it like after the battle when Adam Warlock showed up at the garden to talk to Thanos, and how Thanos is like, I'm done with all. Thanos has always been a weird character. He tries to destroy the universe, and then after he fails, he takes a break, tries to live the simple life for a while. So for Thanos to be at the garden, it was a great nod. Thanos is doing a little farming, pick some fruit, heading to the house. And actually, the rest of the Avengers that's left comes busting in. Captain Marvel puts him in a chokehold. Fucking Thor chops his arm off. Bruce Banner in the Hulkbuster armor grabs his other arm. They hold him down. They ask him where the stones is. He's like, you can see that like the arm that had the Infinity Gauntlet on is kind of like burnt and messed up. Well, apparently Thanos, using the glove, he destroyed the gems so no one else can use them. Basically, Thor gets pissed, chops his head off, walks off. You fast forward 5 years, and we get a scene with Ant-Man luckily being dropped up out of the quantum mill because some rat ran across the control panel. We see Ant-Man try to figure out what's going on. See that he's among the list of people noted as dead from the snap. Somehow he manages to get to the Avengers compound in New York. They go through this whole. He tells them this whole entire plan of using the quantum wheel to go through time. I love the way how Marvel. Let me go back for a sec. I love the way how Marvel started the movie with a proverbial nut punch, because we see Hawkeye on the farm with his family. He's teaching his daughter how to fire a bow. His daughter looks like she's going to be every bit as good as her father. Next thing you know, he turns one way, his daughter's missing. He turned back the other way, his kids that were running around with his wife, they're all fucking gone. So he's the only one left, and my man is hurt. So there's a scene where Scarlet Witch is teleconferencing with Rocket, Captain Marvel in her new sportier haircut, and War Machine. And they're going back and forth about various things. Nothing important. Apparently they know what Clint's up to. Like, Clint is out there just murking motherfuckers. Like, my man Clint, he's on a mission to take out everyone. And I'm not opposed to what he's doing. Like, he's putting cats down. So they figure out a plan. They bring Clint in to help him out. They concoct this whole time heist thing where they're going to use. Well, first they go to the Hawk, which I'll just say once again, Mark Ruffalo playing the Hawk is fucking hilarious, especially the new Professor Hawk. If you haven't seen it before, Professor Hawk is basically Bruce Banner and the Hawk merged into one being. So he has all the intelligence of Banner and the strength of the Hawk. They attempt to try to do the time thing, doesn't work out. They go to Tony. In this 5 years, Tony has got, I guess he's married Pepper. They've got a daughter. He's built a nice little life for himself. Great for fucking Tony. Oh yeah. Sorry, gotta go back one more time. I called this when the first trailer came out, when Tony's flown into space. I knew somehow, some way, Captain Marvel was the only logical person who was going to be able to save Tony from space.